are back again for another episode of the Young Millionaire in Training podcast. I got a super special guest. I know I say that every time I have a guest here that I got a super special guest, but this one is really a super special guest. This one, if you ask me, I consider to be my brother, and I don't just mean like the context of that's my brother. Like I call a lot of people my brother. Like we literally call each other tall and short twin. That's how it is. And tall and short twin is because evidently we don't think we look alike, but when we were in college, people used to think that we were brothers for some reason, although he happens to literally be a foot taller than me. Okay, like literally a foot taller. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. He's actually an entire foot taller than me. On that, but we met in college. He was actually my roommate for whatever reason. I don't like the term sweet mate, CJ. So this, yeah, for what I ain't never like that. I ain't never like that term. I like, bro, he was my roommate. And for some reason, when we were in college, I think I was a sophomore, and they had, I think they went and found the two tallest people on campus and put them in the room with the two shortest people on campus. For some, I don't know how they, I don't know how they did that, but that's when we initially met and started building a relationship, and that ultimately is a friendship. And he's one of the few people that I talk to on a pretty frequent basis from college, that I consider to be a confidant and somebody that I can call to get advice from, and call to vent to, and call to get information from, and get different perspectives from, because a lot of times I don't always feel like I have that person to go to. And he's been that person for me over time. So I definitely want to say I appreciate you for that, CJ. In addition to that, however, he's here today as an author, a real estate investor, an entrepreneur, and just an all-around great guy, to be totally honest with you. He's one of those kind of people who he has a presence about him that it's almost an infectious type of presence about him, because when you're around him, you feel like you need to stand up straight, and not just because he's tall, but like it's the way he carries himself. He makes you feel like you need to stand up straight and present yourself right, and speak properly, and act like you got some sense. Okay. He always kind of had an old soul. Yeah, you always kind of had an old soul to you, CJ. So with no further ado on that, my brother, Calvin Wright, I call him CJ. Y'all can call him whatever y'all want to call him, but he'll take it. And if he don't like it, he will correct you, I promise. But with that being said, CJ, thank you so much for joining me, brother.
It's my pleasure, man. It's my pleasure.
Actually, hold right there, bro. It is frozen on your side. I can hear you, but your picture ain't moving.
I'm not moving at all.
I'm gonna pause it actually. All right, bro, if you can go back and cut from here back to where we were, when I finished doing his introduction, when I finished doing CJ's introduction. Sorry, I'm just giving them some dead air. Okay, and with all that being said, thank you so much for gracing our platform today, CJ. I appreciate you. I love you, brother. I want to say that openly and publicly to the people. So once again, thank you for being here today, bro.
For sure, man. Love you too, man. And it's a pleasure to be here, bro, for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Bro, one thing I actually missed before I tell you to go into your interview, I just realized how long we had known each other. Like, bro, it's almost going on 20 years. Where we at? We about 16, 15, 16, 17, somewhere around there. Yeah, somewhere around there. I was like, wow, Jesus Christ. Because I used to hear my dad and them talk about they people that they know for 20 years. And I was like, bro, that's a long time to know somebody.
That's
I was
facts.
like,
I never thought about that. We are
yeah.
close to that. I've never thought about that. I met you when I was 18 years old.
Yeah, I know it just dawned on me too when I was sitting and thinking. I was like, I met him. I was like, I didn't meet him at the end of college. I was like, I met him at the beginning.
At the beginning of college.
Yeah, I was like, I met him at the beginning. I was like, ooh, yeah, I've been out for like 15 years. Okay. Yeah, I was like, ooh, okay. Nah, but with that being said, bro, tell us a little bit about the man that is Calvin.
Man, man, I'm just regular old CJ, man. Like you said, I'm an entrepreneur. I own a little bit of real estate. The Right Step Forward is my business. With that being said, what it is kind of I say it's a business, but it's also a brand. Kind of all about promoting positivity and teaching people how to become the best version of themselves. So there's a lot of like factors that go into the business, a lot of things, a lot of projects that we're working on releasing. But as of right now, the main thing is a basketball training program where we're able to actually kind of get our hands on kids and teach them how to become good people as well as good basketball players. But we're working on kind of getting into the school systems and other things as well, kind of like adding some mentor pieces to it.
No, I really enjoy that, bro. That's been one of the things that I've admired too. And I actually probably should have shared this with you prior to. I think that one of the things I enjoy about Right Step Forward, as opposed to other similar programs that I've seen around the company or around the country, is that you hone in on the business side of it as well as the basketball side or the sports side. And then on top of that, because I know you, even though you haven't even said this to me, but literally because I know you, you also actually hone in on making these young men and women better people.
For sure.
Yeah, and I know that's something that you hone in on. It's not just about, let me see, can I create the next D1 athlete? Like yours is actually, whether you're a D1 athlete or not, you still need to be a good person in society.
Because the reality of it is, whether you play Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, most of us won't make it to the NBA.
Right, right,
So now you got to learn how to actually, well, you should be a good person if you make it to the NBA as well. But ultimately, if you got to go get a job and connect with people, it helps for people to like you.
right. Agree, agree. No, I agree fully, bro. And of course, the reason why we more so primarily have you here today is my brother has become an author. Okay. And I'm so proud, as I actually said in the previous episode, that's something that I've been personally working on for probably about 4 years now. And I just keep finding hangups and reasons not to finish it. I actually finished the book one time, scrapped the whole thing because I didn't like it. Yeah, I was like, you know what? It ain't, man, whatever. And started a new one and haven't finished it and haven't seen it through. One of my small regrets. So when I say I'm proud of you, brother, that you have completed it and become an author and you're growing it, I'm sincerely proud of you. So with that being said, bro, tell us about the book, man.
Man, the book. So the title of the book is The Right Step Forward, The Four Quarters of Success. What the book is about, okay, the premise of the book. Our success is an inside job, right? So everybody believes that in order to become successful in life, it's always about, I got the mansion, I got, $6 billion in the bank account, boom, 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 boom. But people forget that it starts with you becoming a good person. Once you actually become a good person on the inside, good things will manifest themselves out. And once that becomes a habit, you can then have real success, not just success in a materialistic aspect, but success in life and in your own personal life, and that's what's needed and necessary.
No, understood, bro. Understood. And sorry jumping off there real quick. Man, these Texas allergies is crazy right now. And this
I
weather, bro,
understand.
it's been tearing me to pieces. So sorry about that. But no, that's 100%, bro. And that stuff is so important. That's why I said I already knew you were doing that anyway, just from those interactions, because you're just naturally the type of person that makes people better just by being around you. So I know if you're actually putting in that effort to do it, and then when you told me you were now putting that in a book for other people to read, yeah, I was super excited about that. So no, definitely thank you for that, bro. So my question is, I think I know the answer, but I want the listener to know the answer. What was your inspiration for actually putting it in a book?
So here's the thing. So, like you said, ultimately, of course, the goal is I felt like I had something in me that I could use that kind of help bless and change and help other people. So that was the inspiration. I wanted to give it to people in a different way, and that was that. But it all kind of started. I remember, like, for I wrote the book about like 10 years ago.
Hmm.
So I actually went back to it, started editing, and kind of got with my content editor, fixing things up and kind of making it what it is now, so it can actually be for the consumer. But 10 years ago, I just kind of always told myself, I'm going to leave a legacy. I'm going to leave something that's going to help people because that's who I am. I want to help the world and change the world. So I said I'm going to leave something that's going to help people through my gifts and my passions. And that's where it started from. My inspiration was, what can I do to create something that's going to bless the world outside of myself and leave a legacy for myself? And what better than a book? I get a chance to put my thoughts, my heart, and my emotions into something that I'm passionate about and give it to people.
No, I definitely love that, bro. So the almost a very close to identical answer came up from the young lady before when I asked her about her motivation, even though y'all had totally two different reasons, which I shared because she shared it out loud. Her book is called Pearls from Mama, and she actually wrote the book after her mother died from breast cancer, and it was about going through the grief and healing process of breast cancer. And obviously y'all are coming from two totally different places, but y'all answers were very, very similar about wanting to leave that legacy, share that passion with the world, and ultimately wanting to help people. And so I was sitting here as you were talking, and I was like, I'm glad to be surrounded by such good people. Because I think those things are so important, because those are my reasons as well for why I want to put out the podcast, for why I want to write a book, because I want to leave that legacy. I want to reach people that I can't reach otherwise, because I know I have something to offer people, and I know it's a gift. And one of the things that we often, I think, don't harp on, that I know 100% applies to you is it's ultimately a mission that God has given you, and it's your mission to spread that as much as possible. And everybody always thinks of ministering or preaching from a pulpit, but there are so many other ways to minister, because there are people that have never stepped inside the walls of a church that still need to hear certain messages. And it's not even just, yes, it's, the salvation, but it's not even just about the salvation. Some people just need, how do I get through the next day type
You
of
know,
deal.
it's funny that you say that. I think I actually may have had the conversation with you earlier this week on the phone. You saying that, right?
Mhm.
The beauty of what I've been going through lately, now that the book's complete and I get a chance to talk to a lot of people, is a lot of conversations that I have with people in general seem to be touched on in a book. And that's confirmation for me that I'm doing the right thing. So, like, for instance, you talked about how it's not always about ministering in the pulpit. It's really just more about you uniquely being yourself, and you allowing who you are and the gifts and passions that you have to touch other people in whatever ways that they can. Again, that's in a book, but it's like you're saying, that's perfectly said. It's not about you being perfect or seeing in the perfect image. It's about you being okay with being yourself, and then giving that to people and using it to touch people in a positive way.
No, absolutely. Bro, one of the things that I want to also touch on that you do before we get back to the book, um, he's an influencer on social media as well, which I did not mention earlier. He's also an influencer. So make sure that you go follow all his social media. All that'll be down in the description to it. One of the things that you talk a lot about is passion and purpose. So talk to me a little bit before we go back to the book about how you can discover passion and purpose, or how you went about discovering passion and purpose, and then you knowing that's actually what it is and not just something I like to do today.
For sure, for sure. So it's a saying, and this is actually in the book as well. It's a saying: when you're good at something, you'll tell everybody. When you're great at something, people will tell you, right?
Mm,
And then here's something else. One thing for me is like my basketball training business. When I started off doing that, one thing I noticed was I really, really love basketball. Obviously, me playing college ball and everything. I really, really love basketball. I really love the atmosphere. I really, really love helping people. It was something that I noticed I will always do for free.
mhm.
So then when I noticed it was something that I would give for free, of course, wisdom said at that point, create a business out of it and use it to benefit you outside of that. But ultimately, I was passionate about it. I was so passionate about it that I knew I would do it for free. So that's one way of figuring out what your passions are. If I don't have to beg you to be in this position and you're always willing to do it, you're probably more or less passionate about it. When
Mhm.
it comes down to purpose, purpose is kind of more or less finding out who you are and what are you supposed to be doing, right?
Mhm.
So, like for me, my ultimate gift is teaching, right? So,
Mhm.
in various forms, I do teaching, and that's my purpose in life is to help teach people how to become better versions of themselves through whatever vehicle that I'm using at the time. And you kind of learn that just by kind of learning yourself and just kind of more or less moving and operating in what you do, and those questions slowly start to become answers for you if you're staying on the right track and you're pursuing those things.
Very nice, bro. That's one of the things that I've been trying to harp on um, during this mental health time frame, and this mental health push that I've been going in, is not only we all understand, well, let me not say all, like I hate generalizing like that, that we should know why you need to find your passion and your purpose. We all know like that you should, but we often don't get practical advice on how to do these things. Like I talk a lot about forgiveness, and I knew how to forgive, or excuse me, I knew why I should forgive, but nobody like ever taught me how. And
Mhm.
learning how, I needed practical steps. Like, what's the very first thing I do? And that's why I wanted to ask you that question kind of at that moment, so that we didn't kind of mull over it. Was how do you go about finding your passion? Because I knew you would give me a practical answer on what it is that you need. Because if there's one thing that CJ is, he is practical. Okay, the brother is practical to the point. And I'm gonna pick on him a little bit. Like I said, this is my brother. I'm gonna pick on him a little bit. He be out here messing up the group texts with his Android because iPhones ain't practical. We be mad at him. Everybody, it's 8 people in the group text, and CJ got it green. We be mad at him all the time. So like the brother is practical, but that's the beauty of his personality, that he is so practical, because he's like that very foundational piece, and he's that I call it stone. Like, bro, we know that you always gonna be rooted and grounded, and not that he can never make mistakes or never sway, but we know that your roots run really deep, and you're always gonna be rooted and grounded, and that we can always kind of lean on you if we needed to, type of situation. So, thank you definitely for answering that. So, bro, I know I asked you about your inspiration. So you said you wrote the book 10 years ago. What was your motivation to bring it back up now? Like, was it something that sparked at you? Was it something, what brought it back now? Like, why not 5 more years from now?
I'm walking, so I'm walking with my mom. This is last December, right?
Mhm.
I'm walking with my mom, and I'm telling my mom, like, business plans, I'm doing this, I got this going on, I'm thinking about this, I gotta get something going on the way, I gotta get something concrete. And we're just having a walk, because at this point in time we were going on walks every morning. That was kind of our way of,
Mm.
talking, building, and just staying in shape, I guess. But at the time we're walking, and it was like God was speaking to me. He just said, like, bro, I gave you a book 10 years ago, you ain't did nothing with it. That's your project. He said, get that done now. And I heard, so I walked through with it. Said maybe it's time for me to go ahead and get it done now. Here we are a year later.
Bro, look, it's so funny you talking about the confirmation, and I hate to just keep referencing that. Bro, this was another conversation I had with the young lady in the last one. I was telling her about, it's so interesting. We were actually talking about numbers. You and I have talked about this quite a bit. I was talking about numbers with the podcast, and I said it was so crazy because so many times in my life I've asked God, like, or wondered, is that God talking to me, or is that me coming up with it myself? And we were talking about numbers and looking at numbers, and who's, like for her, who's reading your book, who's following, who's watching. And I was telling her, when I started up this season of the podcast, typically within the first day or so, or even the first hours, first 2 3 hours, I have 25 to 50 listens. And I was very nervous about coming out with the mental health side, because I was like, most people are so used to me only talking about financial stuff. I'm not certain anybody's going to want to listen to me about mental health stuff. Or I was concerned that people would lose confidence in me, because they were like, man, I'm not listening to this crazy man talk about no money. Like, yeah, man, he crazy, man. He all depressed. Yeah, like I was concerned. It was a worry of mine. But I was like, I'd be obedient. I go through and do it. And the first day, bro, I put it out, and I noticed it was half a day that it had been out, and I only had 5 listens. And I was like, I knew nobody was going to listen. I was like, I knew nobody. I was like, nobody wants to listen, because that's something I've expressed to you before. And I was like, nobody wants to listen to me unless I'm talking about money. But I'm so like, like I'm so much more well rounded than that, and nobody wants to listen to me. And I was telling her, I said, and I looked at it, and I said, then I closed it out. And a few minutes later, I went to go pull it up again and look at it. And I heard God clear as day. He was like, let me worry about the numbers, and you worry about what I told you to say. You worry about that. And that's where I've been at. And it stopped me from checking the numbers all the time
Yeah.
on that. And then the numbers returned and actually went up from where they were at when I was even talking about money. And so that's why I say it's always so great. And she was sharing an experience when the Lord spoke very clearly to her about idols with her book. So I wanted to offer that confirmation to you as well. Like, yeah, you right where you're supposed to be, and you heard exactly what you heard. I know that, but it's still good to get that confirmation sometimes. That yes, if you think that's exactly what you heard, then excuse me, if you know that's what you heard, yes, you really know that's what you heard. Okay, which is why I wanted to kind of offer that. So I know you said last year, but you had kind of written it 10 years ago. How long did it take you to get it to a place where you were ready? Because I do happen to know you are a bit of a perfectionist. I do know that about you. So how long did it get it to a place where you were ready to put it out?
Oh, the whole year. Like it isn't like we were sitting on this since September and we waiting. Like
Right.
we have recently finished this product in January to
Nice.
feel good about releasing it at this point. So it's been the whole process. Because, like you said, I am a perfectionist. If I'm gonna put a product out there, it needs to be good. Because
Mhm.
it speaks of who I am as well as everything that I'm trying to do. So
Absolutely.
I had to make sure it was right. But it's right. Check it out. It's right.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I mean, it's literally called the right step. Yeah, I was like,
Right step
yeah,
forward.
it's the right step forward. Like, yeah, we know it's right. Yeah, nah, absolutely. And that's the thing. And I can personally attest to that about him, because I'm joking, obviously saying that he's well. I say I'm joking. I'm not really joking about him being a perfectionist, but that's the one thing I tell you. Anytime that you deal with CJ, you're going to get a quality book. You're going to get a quality product, whatever it is. Because the one thing that I've always admired about you, CJ, when I said like you're always that stone, the one thing that CJ is really, really good at that most people are not is being able to articulate how you feel and
Mm,
and understanding your limits. Because I was like, most people, well, let me not even say most people. CJ, if CJ can do something, he will do it, and he's going to do it to his full ability. If he can't do it to his full ability, he will just let you know, I can't do it, or I'm not available to do it. Most people won't do that. And I'm sure you've run into that plenty of times where they be like, I don't know. I was like, I'm guilty of it. I do it. But I was like, CJ has always been really, really good at that. And I'm like, not that he's being mean or anything. He just like, look, I don't have the capacity to do it. And I don't want to halfway do anything if I agree to do it.
yeah.
So I say that in this context because I know if he put out a book and it's at a place where he's ready to release it, then I know it's good. Even with it being sight unseen to me, I can speak on it because I've known him long enough to know he doesn't do anything halfway. Like he's not a halfway person. He either all in or no, I just can't do it. He doesn't have a problem voicing that, which I've always admired that about you. That you have. Like CJ was the one. So I'm gonna give y'all a quick little story. It's funny because I did the same thing when Tremaine was up here. Yeah, I was like, bro, we got to hit some stories. Like, no, because CJ was the one. When I was talking about like him being really disciplined and he makes people around him better. As y'all mentioned, he played college ball. He played at North Carolina Central, a couple other colleges, but obviously I knew him at North Carolina Central. CJ was the one, like, bro, we got practice tomorrow at 6 a.m. I'm not going out. Yeah, like that was CJ. He was like, I'm not going out. Like, it's nothing that his teammates was about to say to him. They're not going to peer pressure him into it. He was like, I don't drink. I'm not drinking. That's it. There's nothing, it, there's not enough words in the English language for y'all to put together to make me, because I know what I have to do. I came here to play basketball. I came here to be a student. If I have time to party and it does not in any way interfere with these two things, then I will do it. But yeah, and I was like, he was always good to see that determination. As you mentioned, you were 18 and he always had that discipline about him. And not that he's never faltered on his discipline at any point, but from a fundamental standpoint, bro, you always had your discipline there. That was something I noticed about you very early on. And when I say that he made people around him better, so another portion of that story, and I kind of let you speak to this a little bit too. Our other roommate, when I said the tallest person was M, and M was 6'9",
That's
and
my guy, man.
yeah, and M was actually where was M from?
Lithuania.
Lithuania. Yeah, M was from Lithuania, and so and it was crazy because we went to a HBCU, so M just stuck out like he a 6'9" white guy at HBCU. Like Brent, when I say M stuck out, like he just stuck out, just totally. But that was our other roommate, or one of our other roommates, one of our two roommates, and I thought it was so great with him coming over here that he got placed with you because I think that helped set him up for success too. Because him being in such a new environment, I just think it really, really helped set him up being around you. on that. Because you were kind of, I hate to say role model, but you were kind of his role model just because he was like just kind of stuck up under you. Because it was like, well, this is my roommate, this is who I know. So
Yeah. I mean, I guess I never looked at it from that perspective because M was my guy. M is my guy. Me and
yeah.
M still actually keep in contact every
Oh,
now and
nice.
again on Facebook. Yeah, yeah. So M my guy, man. He doing really, really well over in Lithuania. He was actually playing for them a little bit.
Nice.
But like you say, man, ultimately I was just being myself. You know, a lot of times when you're in the moment, you're not necessarily thinking like I didn't come in there thinking like I'm gonna lead him and look like this and be this. It's just like you say, I knew what I wanted out of life. I knew what my focus was. So I just I line with it.
No, I understand. You always did a really good job with that, bro. Question for you, CJ, not to get totally way off. So look, this is the thing. I'm gonna go ahead and let the listeners know. I'm sorry if the conversation go all over the way. I told him beforehand, I was like, it could go all over the place because this is somebody I literally talked to. Like we could probably sit up here for 5 hours. We really, really just wanted to and just talk. So I try not to go too far off, but bro, who was kind of the motivation? Because from my understanding, I always just kind of assumed it was your father that kind of like instilled a lot of things into you. And I never asked you. It was just something that I kind of assumed just based on things you told me about your father, me seeing your father, you kind of looking like him, having his namesake, like all those different things. I just assumed like, okay, he's just like I use the term loosely because you're not a miniature, but like a miniature version of his father. Yeah. So that was always I assumed. So is that where that kind of came from, or where did that?
Yeah. I'll say this. I've been blessed to have a good support system around me as a whole.
Nice.
But I will say one of the biggest influences is definitely my dad. Because I even hear like I'm a miniature version of my dad a lot.
Yeah.
So so with that being said, I would strongly credit him. But I think I'd be remiss if I didn't have my mom, my and my grandfathers and my grandparents as a whole, because they've definitely played big parts in a lot of things that I've done along the way. But that discipline thing though, yeah,
Yeah.
that's my pop. Like that's definitely him. That focus and discipline is definitely him.
Mm. No, thanks for answering that. And that's what I always assumed. I never knew, and I never asked, like, hey, bro, why are you so disciplined? Your daddy just tell you what to do. Yeah, like I didn't want to come at you like that, but I was always kind of curious um
But
about
you
that.
know what? But
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this though, like even like how you see that discipline,
Mhm.
it wasn't even like it was like he stayed on me and it
Yeah.
made me become that way. It was really more of he modeled it and I picked up on it. Like you know what I'm saying? Like he was disciplined about his own thing and it kind of just stuck with me because I saw it more than what it was of him like giving me that structure, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. No, I get it. Cause we go by what we see, not always what we hear, quote unquote, or what we're told to do. Cause like I said, I know I have a lot of my father and my stepdad characteristics on different things. And it was just based on what I saw from them. So no, that's definitely dope. And I like that perspective on it as well. So in the book, when somebody is reading the book, what is it that they can kind of expect to get from it? I know you went over it initially about telling us in it, but like, matter of fact, actually, let me rephrase that question. The first thing, like when I get into the book, what's like step number one? Like, where are we starting at?
All
More
right.
so is where I'm getting at.
So here we go. The right step forward, the 4 quarters of success. So the
Mm,
book is actually divided into 4 quarters.
mm,
So each quarter focuses on a piece of your life that you need to collectively build to become a better version of yourself. So the first part is actually self. It's who are you? It's what standards do you live by? It's what self-value do you have and do you see for yourself and things of that nature. How are you viewing you to affect the world around you? How comfortable are you with being you? Because nothing else matters. I can give you, you know how it go, man. I can put $1 million in front of your face. And realistically, that won't make a difference because if you are corrupted within, you're going to do something to corrupt with that $1 million. But if you are whole within, you'll make better decisions around that.
no, understood. Starting with self. I love that. I love that. Because you always have to start with self. You
Okay,
always have to start with self. When you start with God, then with self. You get
for
God
sure.
so that you can work on yourself. But when you start working, you work on yourself. No, I definitely agree. Also, kind of me bringing up that point and kind of part of the reason I brought that up. So another piece that I would actually give CJ some big kudos on. So as my listeners are aware, these last 2 months is I've captured or rededicated to my faith and Christianity and Jesus Christ and all those different things. These last 2 months have been very new and inspirational for me. However, the one thing that I can always say I've known about CJ and recognize about CJ is his faith on that. Even when he was 18, like he was very strong in it. Even to the point where over the last, as we talked about, almost 20 years, when we had different conversations, we have different conversations about it because CJ knew I knew about the faith and was in it and this, that, and third. And he was always bring it up to me. And he knew I'd be over there kind of side-eyeing him a little bit. And I was like, all right, okay, bro. Yes, I know what the Bible says, CJ. Yes, I know. I'm going to listen to you, but I'd be side-eyeing him a little bit. But no, in all seriousness, but in this book, how much of the perspective is coming from a faith-based perspective?
So here you go. So I felt like I had to be wise in the presentation of everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, there are principles instilled in the book, but it's not a preach in your face book because not everybody believes what I believe, and I understand that. And I don't think it's fair to make everyone view things from that specific perspective when I'm trying to give you gems about life. So is it faith-based per se? No. Are there principles involved? Yes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I enjoy that. And that's kind of the way that I function even through the podcast. Like I'm open about my faith, but at the same time, there's some faith-based principles in here now, but it's not a faith-based podcast, even though I talk about it quite a bit more just because that's where I'm at in life now. And it's just something that I kind of have to talk about as a part of that. So two-part question. I know this one may be a little interesting / difficult for you to answer since you technically wrote the book 10 years ago. So if you just want to kind of talk about the edits a little bit from this past year, I want to talk about one, the two-part is, matter of fact, let me stop. Let me ask the question like this. The question is, what was the process of you writing the book like? But the reason it's two parts, I want to know what it was like emotionally for you. And then I also want to know the technical portion of it for you. What were those like? And you can start with either one of those you prefer to start with.
Okay. So what it was like for me writing the book. I'll say this. It was a tedious process because like you said, the constant edits and things back and forth. It was let me just take you to the beginning.
Yeah.
I remember 10 years ago when I actually first started writing a book. And how did I feel? I didn't really know whether it was going to be a good book or not, but I felt good about it because I knew I was putting my heart on paper. I knew that the things that I was passionate about and the things that mattered to me, it was making it to the paper and it was making a difference. And even so on, because I wrote it so long ago, like the drive that I had about life was completely different than how I see it now. So I was really speaking from a point of wanting to reach and fulfill purpose the way I wanted to back then, not knowing what it looked like and how to get there, where I feel as though today I have a better and more clear understanding and path. So coming from that perspective, it was actually a lot more innocent, which gives it a really, really good perspective now as I had a chance to, over 10 years, grow and mature, fine tune it, and actually bring it to a more, I guess, acceptable manner, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, absolutely. No, absolutely. Matter of fact, before you go to the second part, I want to kind of dig into that. So I actually find it to be really interesting and fun that you could look at 10-year ago CJ and now CJ and see the similarities and the likenesses. Is there anything that stuck out to you? If you could think of one thing that you disliked and one thing that you liked that stuck out to you from this past 10 years.
In regards to the book, it just regards into myself in general.
In regards to things you learned from rereading the book 10 years later.
I just think I won't go as far as say it was something that I didn't like, but
Yeah.
what I will say is clarity. Life has its way of bringing you different experiences. Experiences change your perspective. So I've had an opportunity to see myself grow, whereas at one point it was trying to understand, knowing what I wanted out of life, but not understanding how to get to it. Whereas now is I actually have more of of a disciplined path and clear path and getting there. It's kind of like with playing basketball. Like, everybody want to make it to the NBA, but once you actually go through your practices, you go through you go through the steps to understand of how to become a good player, it changes your perspective because you put in work at that time. You put in work by that time.
Understood. I was gonna ask you, I was like, cause now, 10 years later, you ain't gotta be about me, worried about me dunking on you. Cause 10 years ago, he was probably worried about that 10 years ago. You know what I'm saying? He was like, Warren, knees still fresh. My knees ain't as fresh no more. So he ain't worried about it. But he ain't gonna admit it, but I feel like he was worried about it 10 years ago. He was like, let me stay. Cause for the record, I've never dunked on him and he's never dunked on me. Granted, we've never played ball, but that still don't change the fact that it's never happened, okay? And you never will dunk on me, just to be very clear.
I,
Bro, I'll flagrant foul you before I let you
I've
dunk on
always
me.
wondered, could you touch the rim since the day I met you?
Bro,
Can
get
you
out of
just
here, bro.
touch the
But
rim?
don't worry. Hey, stand up under there and find out. Stand up under there and find out. I was like, when you find out, it'll be too late. Yeah, just stand up under there and we'll find out if I can or not. I was like, if you don't trust yourself to stand under there, that should let you know the answer. Nah, see, I'm not gonna get into no debate with CJ today because, like I said, we'll go on all day long. But yeah, I didn't know if that was just one of your concerns from 10 years ago or not. But 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 in all seriousness, what was something that you enjoyed seeing about yourself that you, I guess, maybe probably kind of seen come to fruition 10 years later? I know you mentioned about having that clarity, but was it anything where you were like, I'm really proud of him being able to be that guy back then?
Yeah, and I think it was really just completing the book because
Yeah,
that's the follow through. Like the essence of the book is to find yourself while pursuing your passion, purpose, and including principles and disciplines in your life, right?
yeah,
So the essence of the book is the fruition of what I'm talking about. I actually completed something that's with my principles and alignment with what I wanted to do, and I'm actually able to look at it. Like
yeah.
it's been a long road coming. So I would say just having a book in itself is a really, really proud thing.
No, I agree. Like I said, that's a major accomplishment. Like all sales aside, all that stuff, even completing it, like you said, is a major accomplishment. That's the biggest piece that I admire you for right now.
Yeah, I appreciate that. One thing I always say about this
Yeah,
book is, like you say, all sales aside, prayerfully, this thing does amazing. But what if it doesn't? If this book never does anything, and all I can do is give this book to my kids and their grandkids, they're able to read it. They'll be able to say, my dad and granddad, this is what he stood for, and this is who he was. This is literally the principles of his heart placed in paper. Like that, they'll always have a piece of me regardless, and that says a lot to me.
I agree. Because actually, some of the things that I cherish most out of all the things that I have is my book collection. Because
Mhm.
because for me, that's a really good point, bro. Because for me, every book that I have kind of signifies, like any book that I actually took the time to buy and add to my collection signifies something that was going on in my life at that time that
For
I was
sure.
looking for an answer about, unless it was, a fiction book, but it's, most of the kind of books that I read now are nonfiction. And, even my Rich Dad Poor Dad, like like that was the start of me becoming the young millionaire trainer. So I think that's a really good perception that you have on that. And that's a really good thing. So definitely thank you for sharing that. Um, bro, so talk to me a little bit, because I mentioned about you being an influencer earlier. From your social media standpoint, talk to me a little bit about um what to look for in your social media, or like what kind of things people will find on your social media.
So my social media basically is me doing a lot of public speaking and or bad. So it's either public speaking or I'll say motivational speaking and inspirational posts of me just kind of giving a lot of feedback and things that's on my heart at the moment, just kind of keeping people encouraged through the week because we all have our struggles and we all kind of need that extra push to get through, or just a collection of little wisdom and nuggets I'll give you for something to think about. So as you move forward, you're like, I do struggle in this area, or I could get better in this area, and it's something that kind of here to pull from to help better yourself. I do a lot of just like memes with just inspirational stuff on it, as well as basketball training videos. Because again, I am a basketball trainer, so you'll see videos of me actually working with different clients and just kind of helping them reach their goals.
Understood. Now, definitely thank you for that. Bro, before we kind of wrap up the interview portion on it, tell us where we can find the book, when we can, or when the book will be available, because I know it's going on pre-sale here, or it might have actually just went on pre-sale here. So let us know kind of some of that information and going to go from there.
For sure, for sure, for sure. So you can find the book on Amazon. You can buy the book. It'll be an ebook, paperback, or hardback. You can get it any kind of way. Pre-sales actually start February 7th, and the actual book itself will go on sale. I'm sorry, the book will be released on March 7th.
Okay. Perfect. And as I mentioned to you, CJ, I'm going to add this book to my Amazon store. So if you follow me on IG, make sure you go into my link tree and my Amazon storefront there. Yes, same place with the $400 toasters and all that good stuff. Yeah, same place. It'll be a copy of the book there. Because it's all the products that I personally endorse that are available on Amazon, and your book, CJ, is one of those included. Like I said, obviously he said it's getting ready to be released, so I haven't had an opportunity to read it, but it is something I will read. But just because I know it came from his heart, and I have a pretty good understanding of who this gentleman is over the course of time, I can endorse the book, like I said, sight unseen. I don't even need to read it because I know who you are as a person. So I don't even need to read it first to know that it's quality and will help someone. Because he's helped me. And if he's giving you that same stuff that's helped me, then I know it'll help somebody else. Just I just fully know that, because some of the things I say threw in that people listen to me, help them, and been things that you said to me. So I definitely know that. But before we get out of here, bro, you have any gems, anything that you want to leave the people?
Talking earlier about the passion and purpose, there was one thing that had came to my mind that I didn't say. So I guess it's just something to think about, I guess, in the long term with purpose. I think sometimes we kind of get caught up in this whole trying to figure life out thing that we don't look for the simplicity in life, right? So I say that to say this. Everything in life is intentional. Everything is here by design, yourself included. So don't get caught up in trying to feel like you're supposed to do whatever it is that you want to do, or that you're here for no reason at all. You are here for a design purpose because there's something uniquely within you that only you have, that nobody else has, that's going to touch the world around you. So you have to make sure you find out why were you uniquely made, what's the intentions of your purpose, and then place yourself into it. Because once you do that, you actually you're like a piece of the puzzle. And when that piece fits, it connects the whole big picture. But you have to tap into that purpose and understand the intentionality of you being here.
I love that. Because when you're being intentional about things, it really makes things happen. I like it. Well, no, once again, brothers, thank you so much for joining me on my platform. I appreciate you. I love you deeply and sincerely, brother. Like I said, this is definitely my brother. Make sure y'all go and check all his social media. Once again, that's be down in the description of the episode. And until next time, y'all be good and keep your training going, and definitely stay mentally healthy.